Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna let you look at some signs before I start talking away. So, hi. I caught myself a good cold this time. I thought it was just allergies from my cat. And it's not just that. I actually have the full-on cold effect this time. So I've been sleeping a whole lot. And I woke up this morning, or this afternoon. I woke up this morning at 2, and I was farting around for a while, watching stuff, actually doing some housekeeping. And then I got tired again and went back to sleep and did some fevers and chills and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, I'm kind of messed up. But I did have cold medication, so that's nice. Anyway, I'm here now. Oh, so that's why no video yesterday. Sorry about that. I may be somewhat slow on the uptake today. Slower than usual. So I did pull cards yesterday, and I pulled from the from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, one card. This deck right here. And, easy fellas. It was Spirit of the River, Movement Toward Adventure, the 50 card. And just to touch very lightly on the numerological aspect of that, 5 generally represents change. But I had the thought occur to me before I started doing this that the O is like, typically I dismiss the O, but oh hi, I feel like it's the Omega today. But that's because it preceded some other stuff. So it makes sense to me. It should make sense to you too. The omniscient, the all-knowing, with an A, not an O. Although you could spell it O-L-L. All. Go crazy. Anyway, take that number 50 and do with it what you will. And I pulled a second card from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. And boy, this just keeps coming up. The raven, or the crow, whatever you want to call the blackbird. This card keeps coming up. And I was a little confounded by that yesterday. Because I was like, what more do I have to say about these dang birds? A lot, actually. And I say that because I also pulled some cards from the Lightseers deck. And the first card I pulled is full of them dang birds. They're fine. I like birds. So, a little talky talk first. I have been in like this interesting sort of space, or I don't know, a progression is more, I think, accurate. And in what I've been talking about here and stuff, and what I've been thinking about. And so I was when I finished the 100 series, I made a Spirit TV critic video of it. The Spirit, oh my god, I made one of them on the 100. If you are interested, you can find it on my page. But the themes were what were really interesting to me in that particular show, because it went 7 seasons, and it had a beginning, middle, and an end, which is unusual. If you are a fan of televised or on-screen media, then you will know neat and tidy endings that you're happy with are highly unusual. So it had all of those elements, and then it had, I mean, I was kind of laughing about this, and I said, thank algorithm that I found like another show after it, because I didn't know what to do with myself quite. But it was all stuff that I talk about like all the time. It's in front of us all the time, everywhere. And it occurred to me, and I know this already, that's why they're there. That's why all of the shows about all of the stuff, not just the stuff I like and talk about, like everything is like it's deliberate, you know, like it's the person's creative effort and their triumph, and don't take this the wrong way, but blah blah blah. But ultimately it's there it reflects us. It's always a reflection of us. The entertainment that we look at, the stories we tell, the stories we listen to, it's all about us. Like, let's face it, we're completely selfish and all about ourselves. But that's kind of the point, I guess, of our existence, really. So, I was thinking, you know, gosh, I sure like kind of the same stuff, and I'll just dive right back into like a space story. I don't know why the space stories make me calm, which doesn't make sense, because like if I put on a Star Trek episode and I'm upset, and I will put on a Star Trek episode if I'm upset for this reason, it calms me right down. It doesn't matter what the story's about, like happy, sad, violent, whatever. It's just dropping into that context is so calming to me. So I had to think about that. Why? Why do I like space? Here's why I think it's crazy that I like it, because you're confined and in the stories, generally the space that the people in space are traveling in, the ship or space station, whatever the case, you're in the vacuum driving around, and if just one little hole gets poked in your containment unit, you're kind of screwed, because you can't breathe in the space without aid. You get sucked out there, you are not likely to live very long at all. Like, wow, I was watching The Expanse, which, again, political themes, relationship themes, like race, but they didn't come at it as race. They shaded it differently, but human things, like the things that we go through, the things that bring us together, the things that break us apart, it was all in there. But that was really tense, because it was always fighting, and it was always a desperate, like it was just basically a story about war. And one of the characters does something completely nuts. Like in the story, they're like, she's completely nuts. She like launches herself from one ship out into the vacuum with no suit of any kind on, just holding her breath, and just like launches herself over, and you know, friction in space, I guess. So she just went pew and smacked into the ship she was aiming for, and you know, her eyes, they didn't pop out of her head like the Arnold Schwarzenegger Total Recall. I'm sorry. I think that may have been a ping pong ball practical effects situation. But if you haven't seen the original Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, just for that it's worth seeing. Back to what I was saying, though. I don't think, well, So she like bonks into the other ship that she's aiming for, and her blood vessels in her eyes, like just when she drags herself into the ship, and you see her eyes, it's like, oh my god, everything but the what do you call the middle part, the iris, the part with the color, the not white part. I'm not an eye professional. I just have them and use them. Anyway, the part where your eyes are blue or green or whatever, that was normal, but the white part was just completely red. I mean, it was akin to seeing like the black-eyed children or something, or the demon eyes, whatever it is. But she just lived through that, so I didn't search it, but I don't think that's possible. I mean, you'd have to go really fast. And pressure aside, you'd flash freeze, like all of you. It's so cold. Cold is not even a good descriptor for how frigid it is in space. But it was an exciting scene. But that's the thing that disturbs me. Like, why would I like space? Like, you can't go anywhere. You're confined with people that... Wow. I'm an only child, and I did have a period where I had roommates, and I had fun, and I also hated it. I never had any privacy. Stuff was never where you left it. Different cases, different times, different things. Like, sometimes I was the one taking the stuff that somebody left, but the only reason I did that in this particular case was because I asked, like, who left that out? It was food, and I was hungry, and I had no money, and everyone else was all, they left it out, let's eat it. But see, they knew who left it out. I didn't, so anyway. Why the heck was I talking about that? Oh, the confined spaces with the people. And so now, and for many years, I have managed to live alone. And listen, the reason that it was possible in my condition was because of my condition. Like, I'm, on the dole, as they say. Anyway, so that is how I managed to live alone. Otherwise, I would have to be living with other people, and other people's noises, and other people's, like, being annoyed by you, or you being annoyed by them. Like, all of the little things, like, you're in, you can't leave, is what I'm saying. I mean, you can get in another box and, fly to a different box in space, but you can't just, like, walk out your door like I can right now and just be all, love that fresh air. You just, you cease to exist the way you are right now and exist in a completely other formation of everything. Form, the whole thing. So why would I like that? I don't know. Drowning actually doesn't sound too terrible. I mean, I think if you just give into it and, like, help it along and just go ahead and start breathing in the water, it ends up being over a lot faster. But it kind of reminds me of that too, which doesn't sound pleasant. I don't think I'd like it. So I don't know why the space stories appeal to me so much, and why, with my in the moment now consciousness of, I need my space, why would I like it so much? But I do. And I'm just gonna sort of just freeball here for a second, and maybe in another life I've lived in space, like, a lot. Even though the 100 was disturbing, there was a lot of violence, and I mean, that was kind of the tone of the whole show, was people fighting the whole time to get what they needed and wanted. And for me, it's like, when are we going to grow out of that? And they did touch on that, and in that nice, tidy ending, they not only touched upon it, they dealt with it. So, I mean, still, I'll give the 100 a 100. It was really well done, I thought. Anyway, so the next show, I was like, okay, well, now I gotta let that sink in, and I had to make sense of a bunch of notes to talk about it. And so I just moved on to something else, and the something else I moved on to was Lonesome Pines, which is, well, I'm seeing it on, or I saw it on, where was it? I think Amazon? I don't know, I'll figure it out. And if I remember, where did I see? Right, so that you can read it. Wandering Pines. Did I say Lonesome Pines before? I might have. Well, anyway, it's Wandering Pines. And unfortunately, that was only 2 seasons. And I say unfortunately because it's almost the same concept, slightly different from the 100. It is the story of, like, hi, there will be spoilers, of a scientist who foresees the path of humanity, like we're just gonna bomb ourselves into oblivion, and he wanted to save humanity, you know, at least a pocket of it, you know. And he even foresaw, like, after the Holocaust, what humanity becomes. So we're talking like mutants here. So you got like mutant vampires / zombie creatures that are also kind of still human, quite a bit, but naturally, because they look like they have pointed ears and like sharp, neat rows of needly teeth and totally predator, and they feed on, you know, things that bleed, but they have no problem and maybe a taste for humans. I don't know if it's because they acquired it or just because it's part of, like, you are constantly screwing us up and killing us. So I guess you're just left to make that kind of decision on your own if you're thinking about it. But anyway, in that show, the guy that managed to predict all of these things also began gathering people, volunteers if he could find them, but he would, like, profile people and just snatch them out of their lives and stick them in cryo and then wake them up 2,000 years later. And the society was so weird. It was like, what was that movie? I think it had Jake Gyllenhaal and, but it was like, they were like modern and in color, and then they went into like a TV show that was black and white, and it was like in the 50s. So I think this was in the 80s when this movie came out. And, well, it was the 80s. Look it up in your search bar. Look it up in your 90210. Ah, shoot, now I gotta see what was that movie. So I think it was Jake Gyllenhaal. How do you spell that? And some blonde actress, I can't think of the name. It was a while ago. So go back in time to 50s. Anyway, why did I start talking about that? Oh, so when the people get woken up 2,000 years later, first of all, they don't tell them exactly what's happening. And so it's basically a society where they're like, work hard, be happy, don't talk about the past. So the people that didn't volunteer, that wake up and are like, wait a minute, where did my life go? Why are you telling me there's no outside world? Which they don't immediately tell the people, which causes a problem because there are so many inconsistencies. And there's 2 seasons of this, and unfortunately, it does not end tidily. It ends leaving you hanging off a cliff, and that has become the norm. And it's not even new. The show is not even new, but it stars Matt Dillon in the first season, and I believe he's the producer, and I think the show is like his creation, his property. And he plays a Secret Service agent, and he's sent to, well, he thinks he's sent to Wandering Pines. But somehow between being ordered to go there and waking up 2,000 years later, they trick him. So I'm not going to share that part. But it was very similar to the 100, where the whole purpose was to groom the younger generation to keep humanity alive. And basically, they do it in such a way that the kids begin to... I kept thinking Lord of the Flies just so many times with this. But they are grooming the kids to be in charge. And then when things begin to screw up, because this guy, this forward-thinking futurist scientist guy, is a nut job. You can't just snatch people out of their lives. You know, they were having PTSD and all kinds of trauma and lashing out. Like, you're not that smart, are you? And then the kids end up thinking like we're all that, and you guys are just old and good for nothing, and you just say stuff we don't want to hear, and you want to talk about the past and blah blah blah. We don't like you. So that becomes the dynamic, and like almost all of the adults are just completely dreadful that are from this, that are working with the scientist, and he's got like a breeding program, and then in the second season, it gets even worse. Like, it's so good. Like, I wish it could have gone on. They realize that one of the creatures, because of course they're fighting for resources, and the fight becomes worse when they can't farm inside the walls, inside this community, and it's ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to bring another show into it to confuse it even more. But it very much looks like a Disney style. Like, if a Disney made a town, this is what it would look like. And the scientist was so dastardly. He found so many ways to like mentally stitch them to this reality. And also, there really isn't anything left outside except for like old, like new growth that's quite old after 2,000 years, and the land is healed from the nuclear holocaust, because I think that was what like killed everything off, but I guess it didn't kill everything off. But trapped in the situation, everybody's spying on each other, and that's the okay part. Like, if you're asking questions and trying to think about the past, that is no bueno. Like, that's like illegal. That gets you killed. And oh my god. Terrible. But it was more of like what we could turn into if we're not careful, you know? So I don't know why I like those kind of shows. They're not really uplifting, are they? Thank goodness there's other stuff to watch. So, after that ended, I started yet another show, which was Stargate Atlantis, which is much more uplifting. It does have violence, too, but it was nothing like the other 2 shows I mentioned. And in the Stargate, the original Stargate with Richard Dean Anderson, the enemy was like ancient Egyptians and like aliens, some of which are like actual aliens. They maybe gave them the names that we do call them, and other times they didn't give them those names, but they gave you enough hints to know that if you were aware of the name of this alien, you knew that's who they were talking about. So that was really cool. And I've been wanting to watch the next thing, which was Atlantis Stargate, and it was on, I don't know, like one of the newer TV channels, like I think maybe Tubi, well, it wasn't Tubi, maybe Pluto, but it was so hard to like get through all of the screens to actually watching the show, and sometimes like the forward and reverse functions on those are just, oh, they're just so bad. So I was like, okay, I'm not watching that here. So Amazon bought MGM, I guess, and their properties, which were Stargate, and so I've been waiting a long time to see this. And so the enemy in the Stargate Atlantis is wraiths. Ghosts is what I associate wraiths with. These are more like vampires with ray guns, but they feed on humans and they're intelligent. Oh, that's what I started to say about Wandering Pines. One of the mutant people got inside the perimeter of the town, but she wasn't acting like the other ones. She wasn't just trying to fight and kill. Like, they have claws that slash, so they weren't just running around slaughtering and eating. Or she wasn't. She allowed herself to be captured. She stayed, like, very calm in her demeanor. And finally, one of the people that got kidnapped and cryo-frozen and reawakened was a doctor. And, of course, they totally needed him. And he was like, oh no, I am not doing this. And so he's talking to one of the terrible people that was one of the founders of this place. And this intelligent female, because you really didn't even hardly see females. The story is so convoluted and messed up, but convoluted in a good way, like lots of good twists and turns. I'm still not really spoiling much. There's a lot going on in this story. But she's intelligent, and this reawoken doctor realizes that, oh man, she understands us. Like, he's able to critically think, you know, and so is she. And she actually, they recognize within each other, like, this is the one to talk to. This is the one I can make sense to. So she's not thinking of just slaughtering everybody, which is amazing in that context. And I'm not going to say anymore, but she understands them. They find out, one to her very much detriment, and the doctor less so. So it had possibilities. But anyway, back to the Atlantis with the wraiths. The Spirit of the River card has this image in it, and I am not as familiar with this card as I am with some other ones of this deck, but this wraith has a lot of things going on. You can see in the river there, the Spirit of the River. Sorry, I'm not putting that together. Wraith is also a spirit name. So, like a ghost. And this is kind of, I guess, what we would call ghostly, sort of see-through. And the thing about it is that it has like a jellyfish sort of, well, not really a jellyfish, because they're not shaped like that. But if you look at it, it's kind of translucent in that way. And then the other thing I noticed about it is, why does it have a bird head here? Now, see, I looked at it not through the camera, and it looked like an owl. But I look at it through it still looks like an owl, I guess. Oh, okay. So, yeah, owl face right there. And then wings, sort of, like a stingray. And then, what is this, legs here? And a torso? And, like, what is going on with this creature? I don't know. But it is definitely shaped for water travel. And, you know, the Spirit of the River and the 5 together, they kind of, come on, brain. They kind of align with, like, what's going on IRL, RN. Because times are kind of turbulent, but, you know, the best way to traverse like the rapids of our times, I guess, is to be like water, make like water, become a, where'd my indicator go? Denizen of the water as it carries you along to new places and experiences and around rocks and waterfalls and beaver dams, whatever you're gonna run into. The best way to deal with those kind of situations in this metaphor is to be fluid. That is what I'm getting from that. But the birds, like even under the water, it has a bird head to me and wings. Like, what is with I'm like not getting something about birds lately. So the crow, I actually have one for this today. Before this, I watched an angel message from Cindy, which I will link that. And it's really good. It talks about the solar flash and gives more clarity on that and other things that, well, if you watch the video after the message, she will tell you she doesn't really know what's going on with that, but that's okay. A lot of people don't, and that's also still okay. So let me finish writing that down so I don't forget. Angel message. So she brought some good information, some that I've also shared a little bit, because that's not like my thing. That's other people's lane. But I have referenced the fact that like many channels that I watched from like Ascended Masters and even ETs and extra dimensionals and whatever you want to call them, that are not humans, that are interacting with us in ways, have been saying that they're sending the love energies to like help us calm the F down so we can stop messing each other up and stop having those worlds like the Expanse and the 100 and the Wandering Pines. Like, can we get off each other's necks and start hugging the necks and being lovey? Oh God, it's St. Valentine's Day. Well, she talks about that too. So yeah, big love day. And I know Hallmark holiday, and I seem skeptical, and maybe I am a little, but that's because of a lifetime of not having the Hallmark experience ever in my life. So I was like, I don't want to hear that anymore. Stop shoving it in my face. It never happens to me. Go away. But I don't think they're considering that when they're doing all of the holiday propaganda for Valentine's Day. Anyway, when Cindy was, I think right before she launched into the messenger. No, I take it back. It was in the body of it while she was talking, because the bird had something to add. But she does her videos outside, like in the forest, and well, Angel of the Forest or of the Woods, or it's the title of her channel, so I guess that makes sense. But anyway, she would start talking, and a squawk came, and I thought, that sounds like a crow. And she's all, oh, there's my raven friend. Adding his 2 cents, basically. I'm paraphrasing. That's not what she said, but that's what I also thought. I was like, oh, the bird has a remark to highlight on your comment. Or what you're saying. It has some sense, a couple to add. So yeah, one of the things in the 100, since I'm talking about that still, was a character named Raven. And someone said to her, oh, Raven signifies death, messenger or harbinger of death. And she's like, well, not necessarily. And as we've learned here, or I have, that's not the only thing they signify. But I love that while she was talking about love waves coming over the world, here's this bird adding its message, and look how big it is. Like, what am I missing about the significance of the bird in these readings? I'm not sure. Is it like, oh, okay, I guess it's a messenger from God. Well, animals are part of the angelic realm, and it did, like, it was almost like it was saying, here, here. to what Cindy was saying. The other thing is a video of a crow came up, and actually I think it was a magpie, a black and white one of these birds, but I think the same bird, and it was just like I think a TikTok or something, and I was like, okay, I'm having some kind of mystery with these birds that I'm not getting. So it basically showed what another common association with the blackbird crow is that they like to collect objects. And I've seen other videos where you can develop a relationship with them, like tons actually. They are precocious and they want to talk and they want to hang out, and I don't see how that's really different from a cat or a dog. You just have to be like a bird person, I guess. A bird person like I call angels. Huh. I know it's taking me forever, but the birds are bird persons. I love it. So, here's the other cards I pulled. Not reading them like tarot particularly. Ten of Swords, all this trouble and squawking and arguing. Ooh, that came out crazy. I think I almost unhinged my jaw. Arguing and squawking at each other, and really, like, are they arguing over some silly bauble? Is it politicians? Because that's what I'm getting. Like the troublesome ones, the ones that don't want to just let people have what they need to be happy. The ones that are like, let's stir up more trouble and make everybody upset, and then look how the people end up when they're like that. Trying to wander off into the wilderness to get away from the noise. And there's this energy too. So, there was like a lot of Jesus stuff. I don't know, like, how much YouTube a viewer here may watch. I watch a lot. They have been having a lot of commercials, and I think they were having them on television as well. That was like skateboarders, which people typically, I've been a kid skateboarding, and they don't like the sound of it, and they don't like you whooping and hollering and having fun, and maybe bring music, and you just seem rowdy and you're making noise, and it unsettles older people sometimes, and you're like messing up you're harshing their mellow basically, but no one's meaning to. And if anything, the opposite of that. And also, if you know skaters, they're some of the most open, coolest people you're ever going to meet. So that might be a Christly thing. But what I have found out after they did that Super Bowl ad, that the Jesus Gets Us ads, which is what that is that I was talking about with the kids and skateboarding, turns out that's Hobby Lobby trying to improve the image of Jesus, which I know you're proselytizing. That's what you're doing. You don't need to improve Jesus's image. That's not your job. He didn't ask you to polish him up. He asks people to listen to what he said. That is the message. I think. I mean, that's what I was always taught. But anyway, well, actually, no, that's not what I was always taught. A little bit more as I've become an adult. I'm getting better information that's not like tailored for a child. So, another cool group of people, though. Oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself. So yeah, Hobby Lobby, they have an agenda, and they, in the past, have not been like wholly accepting of people, of humans. And Jesus loved everybody, so I don't know why people are like that, talking about I am Jesus, love Jesus, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but he didn't do the stuff that you're saying and doing. Where are you getting this from? So, I don't know. I'm just getting that energy of like wealth and abundance, sure, but also wisdom in terms of what I'm talking about, like Christly wisdom. And that is the coin, that is the currency that's the biggest, the most important, as far as I'm concerned, the way we treat each other. And it's important because we say a lot of stuff, but let's face it, we get our feelings hurt when stuff gets said, and then we can't like act like it's true that we got our feelings hurt. Somebody might find out. You want someone to find out if you're not feeling good. You want your feelings soothed. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. So, surfers, generally, another group of very nice, open-minded people. I wonder if it's not the free motion of the body that skating and skateboarding and surfing are very similar in that way. And there's something to movement that's spiritual. There's definitely like dance. And what constitutes music? I mean, I can hear water lapping, and that's musical to me. So it's an immersive experience of being in the water. And I'm not saying that there's not fighting and aggression amongst surfers, because there's also beer and territories and drugs and stuff like that. But generally, like, I don't think there's any surf Nazis. I don't think I've ever heard that. So, just kind of, I feel like at the end of the day, standing by, waiting for that tide, I guess, of love to come in and immerse everyone. And that is what has been happening. That is what Cindy has been talking about. And also, sinuously being able to ride those currents, those tides, the waves, all of those water things, like being able to maneuver and navigate through them like water, like other water, like water becoming water, or maybe not a leaf but a surfboard, or maybe not a surfboard but a leaf. You know what I'm saying? Did I just say the same thing? I think I might have. So, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of stuff going on, and in this illustration, there's a full moon, and it's obviously making the dogs or wolves howl. And this person it also signifies like subconscious thought, or the subconscious. And is it removing yourself from all of this noise subconsciously in water? Whoa. Solar blast. In water again. I mean, I feel like the best way to exist in a watery situation is to just like let go of trying to control things. Like, you could just concentrate on not running into hard stuff and sharp stuff, and just letting it carry you along. Because it's like, also, she looks like she's in a nightgown and drifting off to sleep to dreamland. And that is, I think, where we do some of that type of navigation. Like, we have more of an awareness and a consciousness, I believe, when we're asleep, especially if we travel to like astral planes and realms and things, because you're like lucid and you're actively doing things. Although that's your consciousness, your body is falling away into dreamland, like into deep sleep, where subconscious thought can happen and important decisions can be made, and dots can connect. And it's just maintaining the attitude, staying zen. You know, every day it's going to be something, some news from somewhere in your personal life, you know, someone around you that you, for whatever reason, see a lot or know of, you know, someone you work with, your boss maybe, or just like a famous person. Because, you know, here's the thing. How can a famous person affect you if you don't know them? Well, you don't have to. It's not as easy as saying this, but you don't have to be affected by everything you hear. You don't have to take everything personally. And I swear that's how I feel sometimes watching news, like what everybody's fighting about right now. But it does, you know, it doesn't go on forever. It eventually ends, and we make a lot bigger a thing of what's going on. Thank goodness what I'm talking about is here in America dealing with each other. Sometimes it does come down to violence that is terminal for some people, but generally, we sort of, I guess, I don't know, like wriggle in our bonds of society and what we believe and what we think we have to believe and what we think other people have to believe. I think we're all kind of struggling with that, and maybe we should all just worry about what we believe. And, you know, like, I don't believe that, oh, that was the other thing. I don't believe that what I believe has to make a difference in somebody else's life. It doesn't change a law. It doesn't manipulate anything physically. It's like, are you letting all the slings and arrows get to you? Do you have to? I mean, do you need another thing? At some point, we got to intervene on our own behalf to maintain our sanity. Otherwise, this is what is going on, and it's in our heads, and it doesn't have to be. We have to learn to be more fluid and move through these times that are so strenuous on our poor little minds. But, you know, this is why we're here, to do all of the things we're doing. Whatever you want to call what you're doing, you're still here alive on the planet doing something. And if you don't want to acknowledge that it has purpose and was a directed action, that's fine. You do you. That's why we have that lovely saying. So, oh God, what was the other thing I was going to say? God, I touched upon it. I didn't write it down. Well, I think I've talked long enough. Thank you and good night. Do what you will with all of that.